right. I had to push him away with my paddle.
Fishermen are often seen as tough, persistent folks. They brave all sorts of weather and challenges, all in the hopes of a bountiful catch. But there are times when their nets pull up the unexpected, the downright bizarre. From puzzling mass fish deaths to unexplainable green blobs, join us as we dive into 15 of the most unsettling moments in fishing history. Number 15. Creepy-looking fish. On one Sunday, specifically May 28, 2023, a Catskill, New York resident named Eric Osinski went out for a regular fishing day with his son. Their target for the day? A handful of good old trout. Instead, he got himself a creature that was a perfect embodiment of the word weird. We're talking about a creature so strange it could give the Sarlacc pit from Star Wars a run for its money. Eric was so taken aback by his catch that he decided to share the experience with his fellow outdoor enthusiasts. He took some quick snapshots of this creepy creature and posted them on Catskill Outdoors, a Facebook group for outdoor aficionados like himself. The response was exactly what you'd expect, a mix of curiosity and downright horror. Finally, the mystery was solved. The creature was identified as a sea lamprey. Now, if you don't know what a sea lamprey is, picture a slimy, serpent-like fish that latches onto other fish and sucks out their life essence with its round, sucker-like mouth filled with rows of razor-sharp teeth. Did Eric kill it? Nope, he didn't. He decided to let it go back into the water after he was done with the photo op. As for the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation and other agencies, they've been taking steps to control these undersea menaces in Lake Champlain and its tributaries. Number 14. Gigantic diamondback squid. So there's this fisherman by the name of Nico Ederovich. This isn't your everyday kind of guy. He's not into sitting on the riverbank hoping to catch a trout or two. No, Nico is a commercial fisherman. He hails from Hilo Harbor, Hawaii, and let us tell you, Nico and his crew came across something out of this world. So it's February 1, 2023. Nico and his boys are out there in the dark blue depths of the ocean. We're talking about 6,000 feet deep here. So they're out there when something strange catches their eye. At first, they think, hey, it's a manta ray. As the creature got closer to the boat, they realized they were dealing with something much, much more unusual. A gigantic squid. But not just any squid. This was a diamondback squid, characterized by that distinctive diamond-shaped fin. Nico tried to hook this behemoth, but it slipped away, plunging back into the deep. Then, out of the blue, the squid popped back up. This time, Nico used a gaff, a long pole with a wicked sharp hook at the end. He stabs the giant in the head, pulls it on board. The thing was a real monster, the biggest squid he'd ever seen, and heavy as heck. It was so slippery and enormous that it took 4 men just to lift it. This was a real giant, measuring a whopping 4.8 feet long, 2.1 feet across, and tipping the scales at around 33.5 pounds. With his fresh record in the bag, Nico was all set to send his application to the Hawaii State Record Fishing Committee to make it official. But that wasn't the end of the line for the monster squid. Nico sold his catch to a local fish market. They hadn't seen a squid this big in years, and they estimated it could make about 100 plates of calamari. Number 13. 9-foot bluefin tuna. You know, some creatures on this planet are just born to impress. And let us tell you about one of these remarkable beings, the Atlantic bluefin tuna. They're not your average, everyday tuna you find canned in your local grocery store. No, these are the showstoppers of the sea. They can hit lengths of 15 feet and weigh over a massive 1,500 pounds. Now there's this one guy, Simon Beatty, who hit the fishing jackpot when he landed a monstrous 900-pound bluefin tuna in Welsh waters. It was October 10, 2022. He was fishing with his buddy Jason Knott off the Pembrokeshire coast when this 9-foot giant of a fish decided to bite. The battle that ensued between man and fish lasted an exhausting hour and a half, but finally, they managed to bring the gigantic tuna alongside their boat. They snapped a quick photo, took its measurements, and then watched as the fish swam off into the blue. But Simon's catch isn't the only awe-inspiring tuna story around. In September of 2022, there was an incident where a colossal 9.4-foot bluefin tuna, weighing in at a staggering 1,000 pounds, was seized from a Massachusetts charter boat. They were illegally fishing in Rhode Island waters, and the fish ended up being sold to a licensed dealer. And then there's the story of Michelle Bantzowicz-Sikal, a Virginia woman who made headlines in February 2021 when she reeled in a 9.5-foot bluefin tuna. Her catch weighed 601 pounds, and she landed it off the coast of North Carolina. Number 12. Dead humpback whale. Have you ever heard the haunting song of a humpback whale? These marine mammals are truly remarkable. They can reach a length of 16 meters and tip the scales at about 3,600 kilograms. But here's where the story takes a turn. You see, these magnificent creatures, they're grappling with some major threats due to us humans. The red flag that made everyone sit up and take notice was when dead humpback whales started washing up on the east coast of the United States. Now, this wasn't just a one-off event. NOAA reported a total of 178 humpback whale deaths from January 2016 to January 2023. Let us tell you about this one heart-wrenching case. On February 16, 2023, a dead humpback whale washed up on a New Jersey beach. The 35-foot juvenile female was first spotted floating offshore 5 days earlier. A necropsy done by NOAA found that the whale had been hit by a vessel either before or after it died. But with the body being significantly decomposed, the exact cause and time of death couldn't be nailed down. Unfortunately, this wasn't a standalone incident. New Jersey had seen 5 humpback whale strandings in 2023 alone, which is unusually high for the state. Other states along the East Coast also witnessed a hike in the number of humpback whale strandings. In 2023 itself, there were 10 such strandings reported along the Atlantic coast. Why is this happening, you ask? Scientists and officials are scratching their heads trying to crack this mystery. Some point fingers at offshore wind farms, blaming noise pollution from seismic surveys or construction activities. But NOAA made it clear. There's no evidence to back this claim. We need more research to understand what's really going on. Number 11. Mummified mermaid. Have you heard of the mystery of the mummified mermaid in Asakuchi, Japan? Hidden within a box in Enjuin Temple, a curious letter held the key to this mermaid's past. Caught between 1736 and 1741 by a fisherman off Kochi Prefecture, this odd creature was initially mistaken for a mere unusual fish. Little did that fisherman know he'd netted a mermaid. But after selling it in Osaka, the letter tells us, the author's ancestors snapped it up, turning it into a treasured family possession. But here's the twist. That letter stays tight-lipped on how this mermaid ended up at the Enjuin Temple. This centuries-old puzzle stumped even the temple's chief priest, Kozen Kuida. But he swears by the mermaid's miraculous powers. There's even a myth that its flesh could grant immortality. This is no towering Ariel we're talking about. It's a pint-sized wonder, all 12 inches long. Picture a human-like face paired with a fish-like tail. 2 little hands held up to its grimacing face, head adorned with hair, mouth filled with sharp teeth, all safely preserved behind a glass case, nestled in a fireproof safe inside the temple. This mermaid has been the center of curiosity, attracting researchers and inquisitive visitors over the years. Some even link it to mythical creatures from Japanese folklore, like the beak-faced, triple-tailed amabi, or the ningyo, a fish sporting a human head. But science has burst this bubble. The mermaid isn't a real creature, but a cleverly crafted artifice. A team from Kurashiki University of Science and the Arts delved into the mystery, subjecting the mermaid to CT scans and DNA analysis. Their findings? It was made of paper, cloth, and cotton with no hint of a skeleton. Attached to this figure were fish fins, bones, teeth, and even mammal hair. It was dated to the late 1800s, suggesting it was crafted to cater to Western tourists or collectors. Number 10. Dead fish. All right, here's a story that's going to blow your socks off. It all starts with the Margiris, the second largest super trawler in the world. It stretches over 140 meters long and can process a mind-boggling 250 tons of fish a day. It's owned by the Pelagic Freezer Trawler Association, or PFA, a group of European fishing companies who love to boast about their sustainable fishing practices. But let's just say, not everyone's a fan of theirs. So now it's February 4, 2022, the environmental activists were flying a drone over the Atlantic Ocean off the coast of France. And what do they spot? An enormous spill of dead fish. Over 100,000 of them just floating around. These are blue whiting, part of the cod family. And guess who was behind it? Yep, it was our notorious super trawler, the Margiris. According to PFA, it was an oops moment. They claimed the Margiris had a fishing incident where its net broke, leading to all these fish slipping out and dying. They stressed it was a very rare occurrence and promised the lost fish would be subtracted from the vessel's quota, as per EU law. But the people at Sea Shepherd France who spotted the spill weren't buying it. But let's take a step back and look at the bigger picture. This spill isn't just about a boatload of dead fish. It's a glaring sign of the toll industrial fishing fleets are taking on our oceans. Over a third of global fish stocks are overfished or depleted. Another 60% are maxed out. There's no room for more fishing pressure. And it's not just about the fish. Overfishing threatens food security, livelihoods, biodiversity, and even climate change mitigation. Number 9. Fishermen struck gold. So there's this stuff called ambergris, which is a waxy material that sperm whales cough up when they swallow something they can't digest, usually squid beaks. We know it sounds gross, but wait till you hear this. Fresh ambergris stinks to high heaven, but after it ages a bit, it takes on this sweet, musky aroma that makes perfume makers go bananas. We're talking thousands of dollars for just a pound of this stuff. The price depends on how old and high quality it is. Now let's wind back the clock to June 2021, when a group of 35 fishermen in Yemen stumbled upon a real jackpot. Floating in the Gulf of Aden, they spotted a dead sperm whale. They figured they might salvage some meat or oil from the giant creature, so they towed it ashore and cracked it open. But what they found inside wasn't just meat or oil, it was a massive lump of ambergris, weighing a whopping 280 pounds. Can you believe what that ambergris was worth? They estimated it to be worth a staggering $1.5 million. So what did they do with this unexpected fortune? They decided to divvy it up, sharing it equally among themselves and their families. Not just that, they didn't forget their less fortunate neighbors either, donating a chunk of their newfound wealth to those in need in their village. Number 8. Woman versus alligator. Vicki Baker, an interior designer from Ocala, Florida, was having what she thought would be a peaceful paddleboarding session on the Silver River. Little did she know, she was in for the ride of her life. The 60-year-old woman was out there enjoying the clear water, the chirping of the birds, the general tranquility of it all. And then out of nowhere, this ginormous alligator, about 10 to 12 feet long, starts swimming straight toward her. Vicki tried to scare the beast off, yelling at it, and even attempted to push it away with her paddle. But this gator, it didn't seem to care. It just kept coming, even trying to take a bite out of her paddleboard. Now, Vicki had seen alligators before, but this one, it was different. It was super aggressive. She suspected that someone had been feeding it, which made the situation even scarier. This alligator wasn't just going after her paddleboard, it was hissing at Vicki, showing off its massive teeth. It was one big, frightening warning sign. Vicki admitted that she was terrified, but there was a part of her that was also awestruck. In her chat with the New York Post, she said that it was kinda cool to see him, but she didn't want him coming after me, and she was just amazed by the size of him. After what must have felt like an eternity, about 5 minutes of this alligator stalking and attacking her, it finally gave up and swam away. Vicki was shaken, of course, but also a bit puzzled by the alligator's behavior. Despite her scary encounter, Vicki walked away unscathed and insisted she didn't want the alligator harmed. Number 7. Green blob fishing. Green blob fishing is this awesome trick that fishermen and women have been using to reel in some serious catches day or night. They've been rigging up these underwater LED lights, right? Green ones, mind you, because that's the color that cuts through water the best and lures in the most fish. And these lights, they can be attached just about anywhere. Boats, docks, piers, or even just dunked straight into the water. So how does this all work? Well, it's quite the spectacle. These green lights draw in plankton from the depths of the water. And where there's plankton, there are bait fish. And where there are bait fish, well, that's where the big guns come in. We're talking bass, catfish, trout, tarpon, you name it. The lights spark this sort of food chain reaction that's a mirror image of what happens out there in the wild. Now, what makes green blob fishing such a catch? First off, it shines a light on your prey. Literally. It's easier to spot the fish, and that makes them easier to catch. Secondly, it's a 24/7 operation. Doesn't matter if it's 2 in the afternoon or 2 in the morning. Those lights will still be glowing and the fish will still be going. To really nail the green blob fishing technique, you've got to keep a few things in mind. First, you've got to know where to set up shop. The perfect location and depth for the lights can depend on the type of fish you're after and the conditions of the water. Next, you've got to know your prey. The right bait and tackle can make all the difference. Number 6, dead shark gives birth. You know, sharks are truly something else. These ocean dwellers, they've been kicking it around for millions of years, and they're as varied as they come. We've got over 500 different kinds of sharks swimming our seas, but life's not always smooth sailing for sharks. They've got their fair share of trouble. Biggest one? getting snared by humans. Sometimes it's on purpose, other times it's by accident. But either way, it does a number on their numbers, especially the endangered kinds. Worst of all, sometimes a female shark that gets hooked, well, she might be pregnant. She could be carrying eggs or even little shark pups. Depending on how far along they are and what kind of shark we're talking about, these unborn babies might just have a fighting chance at life if they're put back in the water. Sounds unbelievable, right? But there have been times when folks have stumbled upon baby sharks in a dead mama shark and taken matters into their own hands. They've performed on-the-spot C-sections to save these unborn sharks. Like this one time back in 2014, a family was fishing off Florida's coast. They caught a black-tipped shark until they noticed something was moving inside it. One brave soul stepped up, did a bit of quick surgery on the dead shark, and 3 little guys came out of her and went back into the ocean, alive and wriggling. Another time, in 2021, a couple found a dead thresher shark washed up on a beach in the UK. They saw this weird bulge in her belly, got curious, and decided to take a closer look. What did they find? A single shark pup, still breathing, still alive. They gently got the pup out and put it back in the sea. Now, it's time for today's subscriber pick. One of our subscribers was on a fishing trip with their family. Their net finally caught something, but it took all of the 30 men aboard to pull it up, and what they found rattled them all. It was as if the squid and octopus had a child, and he was on steroids. Scared for their lives, they released it in the water again, but snapped a picture before doing so. Now, they couldn't get their hands on such a creature again, but that's where you come in. Can you help us solve this mystery? What is the most disturbing and mysterious catch that you have brought in while fishing? Remember to comment down below. Number 5. Sewer fishing. Well, here's a story that'll make you double take. You've heard of fishing in the ocean, lakes, or rivers, right? But get this, there are some daredevil hobbyists out there who have taken fishing to a whole new and quite frankly bizarre level. We are talking about sewer fishing. Now, you might be wondering how fish end up in storm sewers. When it rains cats and dogs, all the water has to go somewhere, right? So it all gets directed to these sewers and then to nearby bodies of water like rivers, lakes, or ponds. Along the way, some fish get swept up in the ride and end up trapped in these murky, dark storm sewers. Now, what kind of people take up this, peculiar pastime? Well, let us tell you about a young fellow named Kyle Negley. Down in Katy, Texas, he's made a name for himself as the Fish Whisperer on YouTube. His method is pretty straightforward. A 20-pound line, a number 6 circle hook, and a piece of hot dog as bait dropped through a hole in the sewer lid. He waits for a bite, and the moment his line stands upright, he knows he's got a catch. Then it's a matter of reaching in, grabbing the fish, and pulling it out. Mostly, he lets them go after he's caught them. His biggest catch? About 3 pounds, which is not too shabby for sewer standards. But let's face it, sewers stink, and that makes sewer fishing dangerous. They're filled with trash, dirty water, and who knows what else. Plus, there's always a risk of running into sharp objects, chemicals, or bacteria. And let's not forget, sewers are home to a lot of creatures, and you wouldn't want to disturb them or damage their home. Depending on where you live, sewer fishing might even be illegal. So before anyone gets any ideas, do your homework, respect the rules, and tread lightly. Number 4. Rare blue lobster. Bet you've seen a lobster or two in your time, right? Reddish brown, clambering around in a restaurant tank. But let us tell you about a kind of lobster you might not have come across. The blue lobster. Yes, you heard it right. A lobster that's as blue as the deep sea. They're super rare, a true spectacle of nature, with odds of spotting one being 1 in 2 million. What makes these lobsters blue? Well, they've won the genetic lottery. They churn out a lot of a protein called crustaceanin, which teams up with a pigment called astaxanthin, and voila, you've got a blue lobster. Now let's talk about a lucky fisherman, Morgan Bizek, who netted one of these blue beauties off the coast of Jersey, an island in the English Channel. He was out fishing with his father and brother, and among the 400 pots they hauled up, there was this stunning cobalt blue lobster. Now Morgan, he'd never seen anything like this before. And instead of popping this rare catch into the pot for a lobster bisque, he decided to let the little guy go, hoping it would live long, reproduce, and spread some of that blue magic to its offspring. But it's not just in Europe that these blue lobsters are making waves. A father-son fishing team in Maine, USA, netted a blue lobster while fishing off Peaks Island. They named it Lucky Blue and took it to a local family-owned restaurant. Becky Rand, the owner, decided to let her customers feast their eyes on Lucky Blue before releasing it back into the sea after a couple of weeks. She was hoping Lucky Blue would find a mate, and make more little blue lobsters. Number 3. Noodling. You've heard of fishing with rods and nets, right? But what about noodling? That's right, noodling. It's a hands-on, quite literally, type of fishing where you ditch all the gear and rely only on your hands or feet to catch fish, particularly catfish. An age-old practice traced back to Native Americans, it's still happening today, mostly in the southern states of the U.S. Back in 1989, Jerry Ryder, a champion noodler from Oklahoma, was invited to demonstrate his noodling prowess on the David Letterman show. And boy, did he bring a showstopper, a 60-pound catfish, caught single-handedly, quite literally again. In 2001, Bradley Beasley rolled out a documentary called Okie Noodling, putting the spotlight on the history and culture of noodling in Oklahoma. The film followed the journey of noodlers as they geared up for the annual Okie Noodling Tournament. The prize? Accolades for the biggest catfish caught by hand. The documentary was a hit, even inspiring a sequel in 2011. The noodling world had another big moment in 2013. Lucy Millsap, a 19-year-old cheerleader from Texas, caught a whopping 72-pound flathead catfish with her bare hands at the Okie Noodling Tournament. Not only did she win, but she also became the first woman to do so. There was a bit of a stir with some male competitors crying foul, but Millsap stood her ground. She said she had been noodling since she was a 5-year-old under her father's guidance. And her win? She wanted it to inspire other women to try noodling. Number 2, shark versus man. It's time to talk about sharks, fishermen, and some cameras that luckily were in the right place at the right time. Back in 2015, off the coast of Port Lincoln in South Australia, a bunch of Australian anglers found themselves face to face with a great white shark. Not just any shark, though. This one was a giant. We're talking 18 feet long and weighing over 2 tons. All she wanted was a piece of the tuna bait the fishermen had hooked on their line. This enormous beast wasn't just going away, though. Nope. She stuck around for a good 40 minutes, circling the boat, even taking a bite or two at the fishing gear. And get this, she gave the boat a friendly little nudge with her nose. The fishermen, in a mix of awe and fear, managed to capture this spectacle on camera, sharing it online for everyone to watch. The best part? This was the legendary Joan of Shark, one of the largest of her kind ever recorded. Tagged by researchers a year prior, Joan is a bit of a local celebrity around Port Lincoln, a popular spot for shark tourism. The fishermen, though a bit shaken, felt privileged to have witnessed such a majestic creature up close and unharmed. Fast forward to 2017. We're now in Cape Cod Bay, Massachusetts, with 2 fishermen on the hunt for striped bass. Suddenly, they spot a large dorsal fin cutting through the water. This was no ordinary fish. It was another great white shark, even bigger than our friend Joan, measuring about 20 feet and weighing over 3 tons. With impressive agility and speed, the shark launched itself towards the rail of their boat, showing off its gills and teeth, even trying to snatch their catch. The fishermen, while initially shocked, found themselves mesmerized by the sheer beauty and power of the creature. Number 1. Fire fishing. Top of the list is an age-old Taiwanese fishing tradition so captivating, so otherworldly, it's gonna reel you in. We're talking about fire fishing. And no, it's not about grilling sardines, but actually catching them using fire. Originating hundreds of years ago from the indigenous Bajau people of northern Taiwan, this technique involves lighting up a stick with acetylene gas and drawing the fish to the surface using the bright, mesmerizing light and warmth. Then the fishermen swoop in with their nets to catch these silver-scaled beauties, locally called fireflies of the sea, due to their shimmering scales. During the Japanese colonial period around the late 1800s and early 1900s, fishermen started using a new explosive compound, calcium carbide. When mixed with water, this stuff produces acetylene gas, which when ignited, lights up like a mini sun. The fishermen call these calcium carbide chunks sulfuric stones due to their funky smell and look. Imagine a coastal town in New Taipei City called Jinshan, once illuminated by around 100 of these blazing fire fishing boats. In the peak season, from May to August, it was an unbelievable spectacle. The sea lit up with the golden glow from the fires, an image so captivating it used to lure tourists and photographers from all over. Now, fast forward to today. Only a single fire fishing boat remains in Taiwan, helmed by Huang Shunxi, a 65-year-old fisherman who carries the flame for this incredible tradition. Huang, who got into this line of work following his father's footsteps, is driven by a desire to keep the culture and history of fire fishing alive. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.